It's Friday, March 6th, 2026. Fridays are a Friday 5-pack and Ask or Tell Me Anything next on the AM Update. President Trump provided, from his perspective, an update on how things are going in Iran. He once again called for the Iranian regime to lay down their arms.
They're only going to be killed. And now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. You're going to have a chance after all these years to take back your country. Accept immunity. We'll give you immunity. And we'll be giving you really the right side of history, because that's what it is. So you'll be perfectly safe with total immunity, or you'll face absolutely guaranteed death, and I don't want to see that.
Strong words. More details from Central Command Commander Brad Cooper.
Intensified. You may have heard the president say just a little while ago that we have sunk or destroyed 24 ships. That was true at the moment. We're now up over 30 ships. And in just the last few hours, we hit an Iranian drone carrier ship, roughly the size of a World War II aircraft carrier. And as we speak, it's on fire. The president gave us another task: to raise or level Iran's ballistic missile industrial base. So we're not just hitting what they have, we're destroying their ability to rebuild. And so as we transition to the next phase of this operation, we will systemically dismantle Iran's missile production capability for the future, and that's absolutely in progress. This is going to take some time, but our forces are well supplied, as the secretary said, and we are absolutely ready to prosecute this mission decisively. Our combined joint forces have relentlessly destroyed Iran's air defenses over the past few days, and they've continued hunting for more systems to kill. Our air defenders are operating at the very top of their game. I couldn't be prouder, shoulder to shoulder with our partners in the region, in many cases, providing the most integrated air defense network in Middle East history. We are fighting to win.
That is Central Command Commander Brad Cooper. Again, nothing but confidence from both the Pentagon and the White House when it comes to what's going on in Iran. President Trump posted this and then deleted it a short time later. Quote, "The Save America Act," he posted this on Truth Social, "all voters must show voter ID identification. All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. No mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. No men and women's sports." And then this: "No transgender mutilation surgery for children without the express written approval of the parents." Yikes. He did delete that and simply added this for point 5. "No transgender mutilation surgery for children, period." So, good catch by the White House there. Kristi Noem is out as Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. This is probably the clip from her hearing in the Senate last week in front of John Kennedy that probably did her in.
I'm asking you, sorry to interrupt, but the president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly.
Did the president know you were going to do this?
Yes.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And one thing, Senator, I think would be helpful to know is how effective that communications has been. That
well, they
overwhelmingly
were effective in your name recognition. I mean, I personally just, I mean, to me, it puts the president in a terribly awkward spot. And and I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe, knowing the president as I do.
So there is that exchange between John Kennedy, senator from Louisiana, and Kristi Noem. Allegedly, one of the things, in addition to the affair with Corey Lewandowski, which she did not deny, even with her husband sitting in the room there was like a $200 million ad contract that the Department of Homeland Security issued out. And I don't know what it was for exactly. Now, there have been some legitimate calls for more, let's just call it what it is, the propaganda machine to turn on in favor of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is a part of DHS. So I don't know if that's what it was for, but $200 million is a huge price tag. The problem is that the three firms allegedly that DHS under Noem's leadership looked at either had direct ties to her or a direct tie to the president in one way, shape, or form. So that was just from what I've heard being reported, again, you got to be careful with these types of reports. President Trump not at all happy with Kristi Noem. Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin will be the next Secretary of Homeland Security. Also, there's this. Ken Paxton, as we talked about the other day, Texas Attorney General, he's heading towards a runoff in the Senate primary over on the Republican side in Texas, heading for a runoff with current Senator John Cornyn. President Trump posted the other day on Truth Social that he's going to be endorsing in that race soon and asking whomever he does not endorse to drop out. So in response, he didn't say whom he was going to endorse, but in response to that, everybody knows it's John Cornyn. Ken Paxton posted this on X, quote, "The Save America Act is the most important bill the U.S. could ever pass, and I'm committed to helping President Trump get it done. I would consider dropping out of this race if Senate leadership agrees to lift the filibuster and passes the Save America Act. John Cornyn is a coward who has refused to support abolishing the filibuster to pass this bill. Now, fake news reporters and the establishment are trying to destroy me with misinformation. The truth is clear. No one has been more loyal to Donald Trump than me." That is some incredible political instincts there. Sure, John Cornyn had to spend $75 per vote in the Republican primary the other night, and I still almost beat him, and now you're trying to endorse against me? All right, I'll drop out as long as y'all pass the Save America Act. Otherwise, this race is going to continue to be a drain on the Republican Party heading into the midterms. Story number 4 on our Friday 5-pack. How's this for story number 5? Destiny is a streamer, a very, very annoying streamer, very left-wing, very anti-God, just de facto anti-God. Well, he had a sit-down debate with Catholic apologist T.K. Coleman. And Destiny is the type of person who believes he has all of the answers to all of life's questions all the time, and everyone else is wrong. This clip is astounding if you know anything about Destiny. Listen to this. This is Destiny, the online streamer, with T.K. Coleman, Catholic apologist.
Yeah, okay, so let me try to format your objection to me syllogistically, and you tell me if I'm representing you well. Mm-hmm. We could say, statement 1, our moral intuitions can be accounted for with evolutionary explanations. Mm-hmm. Statement 2, evolutionary explanations track survival, not reality. Statement 3, our moral intuitions track survival, not reality. Therefore, our moral intuitions are only a reliable source for survival, not knowing reality. Is that a fair representation?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So now I'm just going to repeat that the best I can and just substitute something else.
Sure.
Okay. The way in which our brain processes information can be accounted for by evolutionary explanations. Mm-hmm. Evolutionary explanations track for survival, not reality. The way our brain processes information tracks for survival, not reality. Therefore, the way our brain processes information is not a reliable source for truth, but for survival.
Okay.
Why does that work against moral realism, but it doesn't work against your very cognitive processes by which you come up with arguments against moral realism?
Okay. I'm going to totally flip my position, okay?
Okay.
I don't have these discussions too often.
Well, this could be fun. Maybe we can create something
Well, no,
new.
I'm going to restate in plain language what you're saying, because now I think I understand what your objection is, okay?
Okay.
So I'm arguing for physical realism, but moral anti-realism. And you're telling me, well, whatever argument you put forth for physical realism, and you said this in the beginning, would necessarily carry over to moral realism. And I'm trying to argue, well, there's different structures that I see to kind of like physical realism and what you're calling this moral world. And you're saying, okay, well, all the ways that you can describe morality, you're accounting for all of your intuitions and feelings are being just survival mechanisms, essentially. And I'm saying, well, yeah, of course. And you're saying, okay, well, it seems to me that you're so epistemically humble that you're also willing to say all of your physical things and perceptions are the same thing.
Yeah.
I think I have to say yes to that based on everything I've said. Yeah. But then I guess that would make me a physical anti-realist. But now I've changed my position completely. So I should have never said physical realism in the first place, which might be the truth. Yeah, that might be the case.
Astounding. Again, if you know anything about destiny, he is very sure that he is right at all times about everything. Again, at all times. And you heard him there on this diatribe about moral realism. He completely changes his position on the matter because that Catholic apologist T.K. Coleman very calmly and rationally laid out why he believes what he believes is, quite frankly, a load of logical bunk. When we come back, it'll be another round of Ask or Tell Me Anything. Ask me any question you want. Tell me any news story you want to get to. That's coming up next. Back for one more segment on this Friday edition of the AM Update. Thanks for hanging out again with me this week. If you like the podcast for whatever reason and have enjoyed it, especially with our coverage of the Iran war, give me a 5-star review. Boy, that's a great segue. Hey, if you like the war, give me a 5-star review. Somebody didn't think that through. Let me get back to the editor about that. Oh, the editor is me? Okay. Regardless, if you like the podcast, give it a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice. Let's get to Ask or Tell Me Anything. Doug Catbird said, what are the long-term impacts of this tweet? The Muslim world is divided about Iran. Muslim countries in favor of removing the regime: Jordan, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, Bahrain. Muslim countries against the removal of the regime: Great Britain, France, and Spain. Wow. So what are the long-term impacts of this? The long-term impacts, it actually could be pretty short-term impacts, is that I think we're actually closer to the U.S. getting out of NATO than I think anybody really imagines. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, I don't know if you've noticed, I've featured a few clips from him in recent weeks. He basically kisses the ground that Donald Trump walks on. Yes, every idea that Donald Trump has is tremendous. We want to give him Greenland. Sure, I think that's a great idea. We should consider it. And I think his overall point about needing to increase funding for our own militaries, that's a great point. He's agreeing with Trump on everything. So either he is completely genuine and he just loves Trump, or he also realizes that this could be close to being over with when it comes to NATO. And you've seen Britain scrambling this week, France to some degree scrambling this week. Holy cow, we actually need to do something here, make it look like we're actually doing something around here. I think one of the most, this is a whole kind of worms I don't want to get into. One of the most loving and compassionate things we could do for the continent of Europe right now would be to pull out of NATO. I'm just going to drop that grenade and walk away. As far as those other Muslim countries who are in favor of removing the regime, most of whom are Iran's neighbors. All I'll just say is what I said on Monday. This has been an extraordinary geopolitical week. One of the most extraordinary turns I've ever seen. Some of my hypotheses, particularly when it comes to Qatar, that maybe they're baseline evil or not good because they've been funding or aiding and abetting anti-Western subversive movements. Yeah, the baseline not good, but they're not this overarching big bad that I think some people have made them out to be. They're merely just playing a game of triangulation all the time because they share that gas field with Iran, and Iran is many, many, many times bigger than Qatar. So they're just playing a game of triangulation for survival. And you've seen them forcefully come out this week, multiple occasions, and decry the Iranian regime. United Arab Emirates, they're the ones who are on the receiving end of most of Iran's attacks on its neighbors, Israel notwithstanding, that's a little further away. And you can see why. The UAE is by far the most moderate, quote-unquote, Arab nation, and is an antithesis to everything that regime stands for. Extraordinary times. I don't know how to put it anything other than that. James says, I live in California and warned local officials, district reps, water, power, school board, about what it looks like an invisible coup with birthright citizenship abuse tied to the Chinese Communist Party. Response, quote, we'll look into it. Their names are Li Wang, Yang Huang, Zhao Peng, and Hao Feng. I hope you're joking, James. That's incredible. Daniel says, I really appreciate your mentioning the Lebanese prime minister making a statement against Hezbollah this week. I've been there 3 times on mission trips. Love that little country, and hopeful that Iran won't be in a position to fund Hezbollah and things can improve there. I think what I've seen this week are two things. Lebanon is somewhat limited in their military power to root out Hezbollah on their own. To the extent that they're limited, though, I have seen they are at least taking some actions this week, not only breaking the seal, directly calling out Hezbollah, but their military force is actually going through and trying their best to remove Hezbollah. However, what they are allowing Israel to do is something completely different, which is basically a systematic dismantling of Hezbollah in Lebanon. Jay Breezy says, tell me if you haven't seen this. It's pretty funny. Here's John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania.
Hey there, Senator. How you doing? I was wondering what you made of the Department of War's sinking of an Iranian naval ship today.
Oh, I want to offer condolences to your boss. I know he's all broke up about the Ayatollah was,
Who's our boss?
What?
Who's our boss?
Huh?
You're offering your condolences to my boss?
Yeah, no. What I'm saying though, it's like I know who you work for. It's very anti-Israel. And
we just reported a humanitarian loss, sir.
It's very anti-Israel, and I'm very pro-Israel, so we can agree and disagree on things.
Sure. Do you think it's okay for the U.S. to bomb an Iranian naval ship?
That is pretty good. John Fetterman saying condolences to your boss. Well, the guy's boss, I'm not sure if it's really his boss. John Fetterman is implying there that he's working for Mehdi Hassan, the Islamist former MSNBC anchor. Bravo Dave says, when will people stop giving in to Candace Owens' seemingly endless crash out? Well, I don't know. As long as there's an audience full of people who are willingly gobbling up her stuff, she's going to continue to deceive, and I think she's going to be continued to be called out for that deception. Let's do a few more. Had a lot of questions this week. Don't want to abuse that. Chris says, are you going to get Ben some car bath toys? This way he can grow up to be a hot rodder or racer instead of some sort of comfortable sports bro. Just had a conversation with my neighbor about this. Need to get him in some sort of karate or Brazilian jiu-jitsu class soon. But I hope so. Now, we've been to ball games together. In fact, I took him to an Iowa ball game, but I have no intentions of allowing him to grow up to be a comfortable sports addict. Jonathan says, would you be okay with Trump endorsing Cornyn if he nominates and the Senate confirms Ken Paxton to replace Pam Bondi? That wouldn't be the worst trade ever. I like Ken Paxton's idea of passing the Save America Act a little bit better, though. Judd says, you praised Representative Cloud for good biblical exegesis in Matthew 25, but did you notice he also pulled the passage out of its Olivet Discourse context? The chapter isn't about charity or policy at all, but coming judgment tied to Jesus' brothers. Curious if you see that issue too. Respectfully, I don't really see an issue. I don't see an issue. It was one part. It was one part of the discourse, and he correctly pointed out, unless you're referring to something else, but whatever one of you did for the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me. I think what he pointed out was good and true. Jesus is using the word you, not the government. That's all. You, not the government. And it was the woman, the lefty pastor, quote unquote, who was taking that passage completely out of context. So I think you've got it twisted there, Judd. I don't think you need to go into, the Olivet Discourse is not about charity. Well, it's true. The Olivet Discourse is not about charity, but it's also not about forced wealth redistribution either. So the larger principle here is making sure that the Word of God is rightly divided. And I think the micro exegesis that Michael Cloud did was fine. If there's something more specific that you would like to point out, let me know. All right, that's going to do it for a Friday. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Back at it again on Monday.